2, 1.
Hey, welcome in. It's the Illini Nation pregame show. We appreciate you tuning in and watching wherever and however you're watching. I'm Glenn Kinley. He's Tristan Thomas. We got a big one today. It's Illinois and USC, two top 25 teams, and a game that just feels really important for the Illini after what we witnessed, Tristan, in Bloomington, Indiana last week.
Well, we really appreciate you tuning in because we're not the only pregame show.
This is
town,
true,
right? Big noon kickoff. We got their on-field studio right next to us.
Hey, tell your friends. You can have Big Noon Kickoff on the TV and then have us up on your phone or laptop or something. So
why not?
You can get both.
Split the eyes.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Illini. They're talking about all college football games all over the country. We're locked in on Illinois USC. Illinois needs a bounce-back performance after a really, really rough outing last week. A game that feels like you win and you say, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a fluke. I don't think you have a 53-point fluke, but okay. It's just a horrible day in Indiana. Put it behind us. We're still good. We can move on. You drop this one, and then you have some tough conversations.
Well, I think we were talking about, leading up to this week. Could you imagine the hype if Illinois had won last week? And then instead, it's Illinois kind of really needs one. You need a sense of, hey, let's get back to, a marquee win. Let's get back to, staying in the rankings. You gotta wash that taste out of your mouth. We talked to Brady Quinn on the Big Noon Kickoff crew. I asked him about that. I'm like, if you're a player, you're a coach, how do you flush that? How do you not let that spread into the next week? How do you recover from a demoralizing loss where you just flat out didn't compete? And he's like, his initial reaction was just woof. Like, how do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a challenge.
That's not easy.
But he was like, hey, you really just gotta get in your mind, get in a positive mindset, and say, hey, that's not us. That wasn't what we do. We gotta learn from it, but just move on quick. And say that was a one-time thing, and that doesn't define us. And that's a challenge. That's going to be on Brett Bielema. That's going to be on the leaders, the captains of this group to refocus this team. And and like you said, you can't let Indiana beat you twice. USC is good enough to beat you on their own. Illinois has got to be locked in and ready to go.
I'll tell you this: we've talked about this team, the distractions, having to ignore the outside noise. Sometimes when there's all this hype. I think this might be a week where that outside noise is a good thing. Yeah. The Big Noon Kickoff, the homecoming, the Barstool show, like all that stuff can get you hyped up when maybe you weren't feeling great because of last week and you're down on yourself or even externally the vibes are down after that loss and you get the fans packed into Grange Grove. All that stuff can sort of try to negate the negativity that last week brought. So this week, if they had won, we might have been talking about how can Illinois block out Big Noon Kickoff.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about how can Illinois use Big Noon Kickoff actually to use that energy to kind of channel, okay, there's all sorts of energy around this game. It's homecoming. It's a sold-out crowd. Let's use that as a positive, as kind of get us some momentum back before it's even kicked off today. This is a good USC team. USC is 4-0.
Yeah.
They don't have any big wins, but neither did Indiana, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't really play that card after last week, but this is a USC team that's going to test Illinois.
They got athletes. They're going to come in here and have the ability to put up big points, big plays. Got to be ready for that, even with a thin secondary. But that national spotlight, it's extra important for Illinois to have at least a strong showing in a game like this and look competent because, you had the national spotlight last week on NBC, prime time. Here we go. The college football world is watching you, and you fell flat on your face.
Yeah.
And so, Big Noon Kickoff, Dave Portnoy, everybody here building up this game. Yeah,
it's going to be talked about. Whether good or bad, this is going to be talked about just like last week was.
Yeah, so it's really important to bounce back and get things going. And Illinois is going to have to do it shorthanded, of course, with Xavier Scott out and a couple more players on.
Yes, was just about to get to the injury report. This is the Illini Nation pregame show. We appreciate you watching. I'm Glenn. He's Tristan. Daniel Brown is out. I think we knew he was going to be out a couple weeks. I don't know if we knew he was going to be out this one, but we didn't get an update from Bielema on him on Thursday, which probably meant no update meant he wasn't coming back. Yeah. Malik Elzy is the one on the injury report that we didn't expect, and we'll find out post game what happened with Malik and if that's serious or long term or if he's just got banged out. He's out 1 week. That's not the end of the world for Illinois. I think we'd agree. Like Malik Elzy is a good player. He hasn't been used an incredible amount this year as far as the Hank Beatty's, the Colin Dixon, that type. You never like to have a guy out from injury, but that's not one that you say, oh no, we can't win this game now because Malik Elzy's out. So Daniel Brown, Malik Elzy, and then a bunch of other guys that have been out or were expected to be out. You get Jaheim Clark this week. Jaheim Clark hadn't played football yet this year. So week 1, we didn't know Jaheim Clark was going to be out. The injury report came out pregame, and we said, Jaheim Clark's not playing? What the heck? And then all of a sudden he didn't play the next week. He's expected to play today. We're hoping he actually does. You get Aiden Lawfrey and Justin Bowick back on the offense, both guys who were cleared last week, weren't on the injury report, but didn't end up going. And then that secondary got beat up last week. Most of those guys are back. Torrey Cox went down late. He's expected to play. Mac Rosetich is expected to play. Miles Scott wasn't hurt. He had targeting. Had some people ask, does he have to sit out the first half? The targeting was in the first half. If it was in the second half of the Indiana game, he'd have to sit out the first half today, but he does not. Caleb Patterson, who we were kind of concerned about, he left on crutches in a boot. He's expected to play as well. So everybody but Xavier Scott in that secondary. But if you're going to be missing one guy, that's a pretty big guy to be missing.
Yeah, and I mean, you can live with, I think, without, a Malik LZ, depth in this receiver room like we've talked about. It's hard to look back at the Indiana game and break down the receivers, but you saw Hudson Clement make some plays in that game early. Of course, the touchdown from Colin Dixon. Those two continuing to kind of assert themselves in that room, and getting Justin Bowick back is big if he can catch some 50-50 balls for Luke Altmaier, and I'd say get in the red zone, come through in the red zone. But you got to get to the red zone first. That's the challenge. You got to get to point A before you get to point B. But it's certainly helpful to have him back, and another playmaker for Luke to throw to.
Surprisingly enough, we're almost 10 minutes in here to the Orlando Nation pregame show. We haven't talked about fast starts, and we haven't talked about the O-line yet, but we should probably do that now. That's been a big point of emphasis. It was a big point of emphasis last week, dating back to the Western Michigan game. Illinois didn't start very good offensively. The defense was good, but didn't start good offensively, and then tried to get that going against Indiana last week. It didn't happen, and so a fast start is big, and that really starts with the offensive line. People talk about how was Illinois on third down. How was Illinois on first and second down? Oh, they were 2 for 8 on third down. That's because those third downs might have been 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, right? And you can't be expected to have a really high third down percentage. They got to be able to run the ball on early downs. They have the running backs to do it. Coach has said earlier in the week, this was not solely an O-line problem. 53-point loss, everything was the problem. Yeah. But the O-line wasn't good enough. It's as simple as that. And this is an O-line that had 5 returning starters, really, really high expectations. I talked to a guy from CBS, a national guy, before the season who thought they could be on the Joe Moore Award watch list and stuff like that. The best O-line in the country. They have not played to that level. And I think it's affected Luke Altmaier a little bit. I don't think Luke was very good last week. Luke would tell you that too. And I think part of that was maybe he just had an off day, but part of that was he got sacked 7 times. And I think he was a little bit hesitant of maybe that back of your mind. Do I have time to throw this? Is somebody coming to punch the ball out? Can I step up here and run? Are they going to hold that block if I try to get through that gap, or is that gap going to be gone by the time I step up here and try to run? So I think they need the O-line to be better. They need Luke Altmaier to be more decisive. Yeah. If he's got a guy, let it rip. If he's going to run. Don't half step. Am I going to run? Oh, shoot, now I'm sacked. He's got to be decisive. He's got to make decisions. He hasn't turned the ball over yet this year, but in a way, against good teams like this, Indiana, USC, he's going to have to take some of those risks because – he wants to be safe with the football, but if that always means tucking it and take the sack, that's not great either, right? Okay, he didn't turn it over, but he took 7 sacks, and not all 7 of those sacks were on the O-line. And so they need that connectivity. But again, you got to be able to run the football, man. And that's what Brett Bielema has, I don't want to say founded this program on, but he talks about 3 things: run the ball, stop the run, and defend kicks, right? And they really didn't. I guess they defended kicks all right last week, but you got to be able to run the football. That's just a huge part of Illinois football. It's a huge part of Big Ten football. Yeah,
they didn't protect kicks on that block punt. That really got Indiana going. Yeah. If you don't get that play, would that have mattered in a blowout like that? I don't know. But it certainly was a great way for them to get the crowd going, get into it, and then momentum, building from there. But certainly, hesitancy from Luke. I saw it a bit too. Even I think back to that Indiana game, a play where I think it was one of the receivers going over the middle. From my view, looked open, and you saw Luke just kind of half step, wait just a minute, and then ended up not connecting there. And you got to be decisive. If you got to be on time, on the money. Especially against a fast a defense that can pressure you like USC can. And I think for the offensive line, it's twofold. The issues. One, the run game. You got to get that going. Got to get that established. I mean, you saw Indiana just pick up chunk yardage at will in that game. And, Illinois has got to be able to get ahead of the sticks. Can't get in these 3rd and longs, these 3rd and 12s constantly and expect Luke Altmaier to continue to deliver. You got to get in 3rd and manageable, got to get in a spot where you're unpredictable. The defense, you can run, you can throw. You got to get in situations where you're able to do both. And then when you're not in, pass only
favorable situations.
When you're not in that, they gotta pick up these exotic pressures. They gotta be able to recognize those, because Duke got going, Indiana got going in multiple boxes. They can load the box and drop out. They can disguise pressure and pressure late. You got to be able to pick those up. You got to be able to trust the guy next to you. You got to be able to communicate. That's a big key for this offensive line, because these teams have had their will. And it's not even just the exotic pressures and the confusing stuff. I mean, we saw
just winning a block.
I mean, we saw a couple times guy
just got beat.
Yeah, if you're Brandon Henderson, you can't get beat inside.
Yeah,
you just can't do it as a former offensive lineman, high school offensive lineman. That's like rule number 1. You can't get beat inside. If you get beat outside, that's one thing,
right?
At a lower level for sure. But I mean, inside is just interior pressure is just the death of any offense. And Luke was running for his life.
He was.
You gotta be able to limit that pressure, give him time to throw, and deal with those exotic pressures. And it's funny, you talk about the slow starts as well. I mean, you go back to that game, a peek behind the curtain. I'm getting ready for my live shot, halfway through, and I'm like, okay, another slow start that plagues the Illini, and they lose. Well, as the game went on and Indiana kept scoring, I'm like, no, this is wire to wire.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing. So the slow start again it
was a story until it wasn't.
It's a point, but certainly a challenge for Illinois. Got to start fast. That'd be so helpful to get some momentum, get the crowd going.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you get this crowd in the game, a sold-out crowd. It would be awesome to give this crowd energy. Get a first drive touchdown. You're up 7-0. You feel great, and you say, all right, we're in control. The crowd is into this thing. Let's rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're Illinois, a big start would be really massive today. We're checking out the
stars are out.
The Fox crew behind us. Joe Klatt is here. Colin Coward is here. So there's a lot of excitement around this game, right? REO Speedwagon at halftime reunited, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of excitement around this game. And in Champaign today, you got a lot of the social media engagement will be very high.
Yeah.
And Illinois needs to make sure that is positive social media engagement for Illinois football. The defense, let's talk about that a little bit. The RPO game killed Illinois last week.
Yeah, I mean, Fernando Mendoza was so impressive. I went into that game and I haven't seen him play. What kind of competition
he hasn't played anybody, right?
Wow. I mean, you're talking about him as an NFL draft prospect. I saw some mocks this week having him 1-1, and he has the prototypical size.
He's the Heisman favorite right now.
Yeah, he's the prototypical size. He can move a little bit, and he's deadly accurate in that RPO game. And that was a killer for Illinois. That in combination with the run game was just killer, and the big plays too. Even think back to that first half, that screen that Indiana popped for a big one.
Yeah,
they were cooking. They had everything rolling, and Illinois was just helpless to stop it, and you just can't have that.
Well, we talked about the RPO game, but half of the battle was just tackling.
Yeah,
Aaron Henry. Illinois defense had a shutout against Western Michigan, but Aaron Henry said, we had a shutout, but we missed 10 tackles. We got to fix that. And then last week it was 20 missed tackles. They literally doubled it. That can't happen. You got to wrap up. You got to tackle. Like, I might be oversimplifying it, but you got to tackle.
Yeah.
And we talked to a couple Illini assistant coaches throughout the week about what goes into that.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just fundamentals, wrapping up, getting a guy down, hitting him in the right spot. Another part of it is I think, effort and energy. And I think when you feel like you're out of the game, maybe you're not hitting the guy as hard, and I'm not accusing any of these guys of saying, I don't want to make this tackle, or all right, it's already over. Who cares if I make this tackle? That's not the case. I know that, but that stuff is contagious. When you're down 40, you're not playing with the same energy and effort, even if it's subconscious. It's not intentional. And the third thing they talked about for tackling, the fundamentals, energy and effort, and the third thing is your angle to the ball.
Yeah.
Getting yourself in a position where you're not diving at a running back's feet as he's putting an arm down at you, or you're not running out and all he has to do is get a leg through there and you miss him. Like, your angle to the ball and making sure you're lined up with that guy to hit him and bring him down, not just get a piece of it.
I mean, it's fundamentals, it's wrapping up, it's all those things. But it's an attitude thing as a defense. You talk about swarming to the ball, swarming to 2, 3, 4 guys in on a tackle, and that's an attitude thing. That's a speed thing. It's a split decision. You gotta get to the ball, and you gotta sometimes play through the whistle a little bit. And we gotta see that from Illinois, and it's defense is an attitude thing. You gotta be able to say, hey, you're not coming in here and just running whatever you want, high flying, Showtime, USC here. You got to say, hey, this is Big Ten football.
Right.
We play good defense. We play fundamental ball, and you're not going to come in here and put up a bunch of points. That's the type of game Illinois wants. Wants to slow this thing down, control the ball, control time of possession. That was an underrated part of last week. The defense just couldn't get off the field.
Yeah, they were on the field too much, and they were worn out by the end of the game.
Be unpredictable on third down. Get off the field and give your offense a chance.
Yeah.
So many times that it was just. Here we go, 3rd and short, 4th and short, even when, even Indiana had it 4th and 1.
Yeah.
He's going to punt. Illinois called the timeout, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, Indiana decides, we'll go for it. And then they get it, and here you go. So those 3rd and 1s, those 4th and 1s, so huge. Got to be able to get off the field and make some plays in the backfield.
There is certainly a statement to be made for Illinois today. You mentioned kind of from a Big Ten perspective of this is Big Ten football. USC is not your traditional Big Ten style team, like we know that much. But also I think Illinois has every reason to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. We know these guys block out the outside noise. Probably this week more than ever needed to stay off social media. But these guys aren't oblivious to the fact that everyone in the country is saying Illinois was way overrated. Illinois doesn't belong there. Illinois couldn't hang with Indiana. Illinois had no business in the top 10. All of those things. Illinois has every reason to play with a chip on its shoulder today and go out there with something to prove of last week was not who we are. We right now the thing is Illinois won 10 games last year, but they ain't got that team, right? And so last week was not who we are. We are still a good football team. We still deserve to be in these national conversations, and today's a huge way for Illinois to start that. We're with you for about 5 to 7 more minutes. It's Tristan and Glenn on the Your Illini Nation pregame show. Lots of hype around this one. The gates are open. The student section behind us is slowly starting to fill up. They had to set the alarms early, let me tell you, all right? Tristan and I were feeling bad for ourselves because we left the station about midnight last night after our Friday high school football coverage. I'm confident many of these students got home much later than midnight last night, all right? Yeah. Homecoming weekend, so these folks might be running on fumes or perhaps running on other substances, but the student section expected to be loud. That hot start it could really give Illinois a lot of energy. The other thing we haven't talked about a ton, we talked about injuries a little bit, but I think because so many guys got hurt last week, then all of a sudden we're like, oh, the secondary is healthy. It's no healthier than it was a week ago when we were talking about, Tanner Hackle's going to have to play in place of Xavier Scott, Tyler Strain, right? Tyson Rooks, like Sabor Kareem played a lot last week. That was because they had 48 guys get hurt in the secondary, but he could play again today, right? I think they like some of the stuff they saw from Sabor Kareem. And so who plays in that secondary? Who plays in that safety spot that Xavier usually plays at, and can those guys hold their own? Because I think we talked about this on the pregame show last week, but the bottom line is defensive back spot specifically, if offenses find a weak spot, they'll just abuse it all game long.
Yeah, Torrey Cox got to have a big game as well. I feel like, a guy who's a starter that doesn't always get talked about a lot. We've seen him make plays in the past. Again, can you force some turnovers?
Yeah,
they lost a turnover battle.
Yeah,
how can you get back in a big advantage in that side of things? If you're Illinois, it comes down to that attitude thing, but also being unpredictable and trying to force some turnovers.
You talking about forcing turnovers? That's why Illinois won at Duke. Like it was a 1-point game at halftime. Duke turned the ball over 5 times.
Yeah,
like that was just massive. It was I think it was 3 fumbles, a muff punt, and an interception. That's a game changer. And so you don't have to win the turnover battle 5-0, but can you win it 2-0? Like that's a game changer if you can do that. And besides the momentum that it gives you, giving it maybe an offense that hasn't been firing on all cylinders, giving them good field position once or twice, right? And so forcing turnovers has been a huge emphasis for this defense, something that could be big today for sure.
Well, and you talk about a fast start. You got to talk about time zones.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley kind of was asked about it and talked about it a little bit this week of, hey, it's a challenge.
Is it a 9 a.m. kickoff Pacific time? Is that right?
I think so. If our math is right by the time zones. But that's a challenge. You got to travel and you're playing early. They played late last week.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's part of the business of
conference realignment.
Conference realignment, college football nowadays, it's going coast to coast. But still, that's an area Illinois can take advantage of if there's any way a team could have a sleepy start, it's playing early. And so that's something Illinois has got to use to their advantage. But we'll see if that happens or not. I mean, again, it's the trend versus the facts. Like which one will prevail?
Tristan, we got a couple more minutes here. We've been doing this thing on the pregame show called random predictions, where we make sometimes hot takes, sometimes it's just random predictions. It is what it sounds like. It's not always who's going to score a touchdown, who's going to win. It's just random stuff. Last week on the mic, out of nowhere, I didn't think about this the whole drive to Bloomington, Indiana. Out of nowhere, I said, Keelan Crimmins, punter, going to make a big play today. Yeah. And then we had the block punt, and I said, oh no, that's not what I meant. Do you have one today?
Well, I was kind of taking a victory lap on the Colin Dixon.
You got the touchdown. It looked like it was going to be true for a second.
Kind of.
Career high in catches. So we'll call it. Mark one up, 1-0.
Yeah, Tristan's 1-0. But it's not. It's
0-1 in a very ugly loss. Yes.
Yeah. Random prediction. I'll go with the random touchdown. I like a Cole Russ touchdown. Today.
I like Caden Fagan to do something today, and what I mean by that is I think Illinois has talked about the O-line and talked about maybe what they've asked these guys to do, and we don't know the playbook to know every single blocking scheme and what that looks like. But we do know that they returned 5 starting offensive linemen. I think maybe they said, all right, we got all 5 guys back. We can do this, this, and this. We can be so much more advanced. And now maybe they've said, no, just go back to the basics, right? And so I think if Illinois opts to do that, let's get back to the basics. Let's run Caden Fagan between the tackles. Yeah. I think Caden Fagan could be prime. I'm not even saying for a big run. I'm saying he might be prime for 15 4-yard runs, right? And that's kind of the Caden Fagan that we know and love. He can break one off and he'll get in the end zone, but he's kind of best when it's just death by 1,000 paper cuts for that defensive. Gosh, he got 5 there. He got 6. He got 3. And that's what Illinois needs, just these steady gains. Yeah, explosive plays are great, but Illinois needs to be able to just consistently stay ahead of the sticks.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for a Caden Fagan explosive play. He had some big games this year, but we know if he gets up to top speed, he's got that Derrick Henry quality. Yeah. If he's downhill and at full speed, he's tough to tackle and usually can break away.
So the Trojans, how an Atwood kid in the Big Ten country runs the football, right?
Exactly. If we're doing predictions, though, I'm going to pick USC. I think USC wins this game. I think their pass rush is going to be too much to handle. I'm just going off of what I've seen.
USC, I think, leads the Big Ten in sacks.
Yeah, that's crucial. I think that's going to decide the game. But again, Illinois has a chance to get things going. We've seen this offensive line get it together, last season really, and at times this season against lower competition. They've got to rise to the occasion, but that's what I think is going to be the difference in this game.
I should mention before we sign off, it seems like I've been like this most of the pregame show, just like I'm not just like ignoring you. Like, the sun is right in my eyes here, so I haven't looked at the camera much. I've hardly even looked at you. I don't know where I've been looking for the last half hour. Just trying to keep the sun on my eyes. Tristan and I are going to get another layer of sunscreen on. We'll plan to put him in the hype video afterwards if Illinois wins of him predicting USC. But we'll have post-game coverage for you. Brett Bielema's press conference, wherever you're watching this, Brett Bielema's press conference will be right back there. And then, of course, tonight at 10 on WCIA News, we'll have highlights and a post-game recap. As always, tons of coverage on social media at Tristan Thomas TV. Did I get it right?
Yes,
at Glenn_Kinley on Twitter. So check in with us on social media. Stuff will be on our website. All of that good stuff. We appreciate you joining us for this one. Again, Brett Bielema, post-game press conference, right back here when he comes to the mic after Illinois and USC. Big noon kickoff, 11 a.m. Central kickoff. We'll see you after the game.